Alright, so this is what I watched in March. I'm not going to drag this intro out any longer than it needs to be because this is literally everything that I watched in March. No need to dwell on that. Shout out to Karsten for giving me this idea. And yeah, let's roll in with the first movie. To start off March, I rewatched Joker. Do I need to explain any further? I'm honestly thinking about making a full-fledged review on Joker just because, I'm Brady Joker, so I feel like people might want to know my actual fully in-depth thoughts on this movie. Man, I don't know if I have time for that. I mean, I definitely do. I'm just lazy. Long story short, this movie it's incredible. I'll never understand the criticism. Sure, maybe the script can be a little bit goofy. Maybe not goofy, but a little bit we live in a society type. But I don't care. This movie means so much to me, and it's one of the best ever. I then watched Rocky. I set out to watch all of the Rocky movies this month, and I only watched this one. Sorry. I don't know why. I enjoyed this movie for what it was. I love, the hero's arc. Like, yeah, I suck at first and now I'm one of the best. But yeah, it's a classic movie. I don't know why it took me this long to watch it for the first time, but it did. It did, and it's okay. I can admit it. I'm a big boy. I can do that. It's all right. Rocky as a character is awesome in this movie. Even though, there are some questionable moments during this movie, in my opinion, with the way he treats Adrian at times. Some scenes make me a little uncomfortable, and it's okay. It's kind of funny. For a movie kind of about boxing, this movie is like 10% boxing, which I find kind of funny. I then watched Nobody. This thing was so much better than I thought and needed it to be. I just wanted this as a nice little movie to just throw on, have a good time with. And it was a great time. Bob Odenkirk gives a great performance. For a goofy lawyer guy, he gave a really good performance as this badass dude who takes nobody's crap, which I really liked. Also, it's literally Saul Goodman, it's Doc Brown, and RZA killing Russians. What more could you ask for in a movie? I then watched Sleeping Beauty. This movie figuratively and literally made me fall asleep. Kind of not figuratively, it's more just literally, because I genuinely fell asleep for like 10 minutes at the end. Sure, it's a Disney classic. Sure, some of the animation is good for the time. Sure, the story is kind of not really tight. This movie was slow. Not a lot happened. I'm just be real. Not a lot happened in this movie. I was not a fan. It wasn't for me. Hey, that's okay. That's okay. I then rewatched Requiem for a Dream. This is a movie I talked quite a bit about in my last video about what I watched in February. I brought it up, I think, twice. And then I rewatched it for some reason. Despite the fact that this is the most disturbing, most scary, most depressing film ever made, I love it. It's just some of the best writing, man. So much realism. It's hard, man. I don't like this movie. It honestly disturbed me more on the second watch compared to the first. I don't know why. I don't know, man. This movie just tingles in the back of my mind like, hey, this movie existed. This movie made you feel bad. And that's why I like it. Easily Aronofsky's best film, at least that I've seen. I have 4 more to go. And we'll get to 2 more of him later in this video. I then watched Trainspotting. 2 very similar movies back to back that people like to compare about being disturbing and about drugs and about realism. This movie probably has the most disturbing scene out of every movie I've watched, at least in the terms of, I mean, obviously the scene in Serbian film that everybody knows, that's disturbing as all heck, but I mean, this is real. Like, this is real stuff that could actually happen. And there's this one scene, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Good Lord, it is wow. But this movie has really well written characters. I enjoyed watching them. I know a lot of people say that this movie doesn't have anyone to root for, which is, yeah, it's kind of true. Everyone in here is not a good person. But I don't know, I think that's what is so engaging with the movie and the story that it tells. I think the ending is perfect for this movie, and I'm really scared to watch the sequel. I don't know if I really want to. I heard it's not even good. I'll watch it eventually, just not now. Ewan McGregor, was this his like breakout role? Because man, he is fantastic in this movie. I mean, everyone does a great job, but Ewan McGregor goes crazy. Was this before he was Obi-Wan? Because Obi-Wan, I haven't seen Star Wars in like 10 years, let's be real. Long story short, if you haven't seen Trainspotting, be warned, this movie can be tough to watch at times, and it's very bizarre and very weird. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Then watched Scream 6, or the new Scream, for you nerds out there. I don't know. I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was super fun, super bloody, which I love. I love goriness in my horror movies. That's kind of how sick I am. I don't know. It's a fun movie. I don't have a lot to say about it. I personally think it's one of the better Scream sequels. I wouldn't put it up there with 2 and 1, which 1 isn't a sequel, but it might be better than 4, 5, and 3, so I don't know. I'm not huge on the Scream sequels, even though the original Scream is my favorite of all time. I'm not huge on the sequels, maybe other than the second one. I mean, I think that the 4th, 5th, and 6th are all really good, but they're not, like, crazy good. And then the third one blows balls. I don't know. This movie was fun. The twist was cool. It was interesting. I really thought Stu was going to be one of the killers. I really thought that was going to be the case, but it wasn't, and I was kind of upset about that, I'm not going to lie. Because they kind of like teased it like earlier in the movie as well. They were like, oh, this is the TV that killed Stu Macher, if you believe he's dead. And there's like hints throughout the movie that like I caught on that like no one else would have, because I'm a diehard Scream fan. So I don't know, I'm just a nerd. Sydney isn't in this movie, which I actually really enjoyed. Even though I hate Jenna Ortega with a passion, she's fine in this movie. She didn't make me mad. She made me really mad in the 5th movie, but this one she's fine in. I didn't mind her all that much. I don't know, it was a fun movie. Go watch it if you haven't. You should probably watch the other Screams. You kind of have to watch them in order. Yeah, it's a good movie. Great movie. I then watched Parasite. Just give me 1 second. I think out of all of the new movies I watched, yeah, not including rewatches, this was the best movie I've seen this month. Obviously. It's Parasite. It is phenomenal. Everybody knows it's phenomenal. It's the second highest rated movie of all time on Letterboxd. What is there to say about this movie that hasn't already been said? The writing is incredible. The directing is, it's so good. The acting, good Lord. The story itself is one of the best stories I've seen. It's so good. And then the ending is perfection, man. This movie, I love it so much. I will rewatch it next month. I'll probably watch it in April. I probably will. I'm not going to lie to you. I probably will. But did it deserve the Oscar over Joker? In my eyes, it didn't, but that's because I am extremely biased. If we're looking at things through an objective, analytical standpoint, then yes, I would say that Parasite is easily one of the greatest movies I've seen on a perfection standpoint, but other than that, Joker, in my personal preference, is better, but barely. Long story short, if you haven't seen Parasite, I've said this already a million times, go watch Parasite. I watched a lot of great movies this month, so yeah, be ready for that saying. Then watched American Beauty. This is essentially Fight Club, but without Tyler Durden. That's how I perceived it, at least. Just, you got your average Joe Kevin Spacey, despite Kevin Spacey being a huge D-bag and nobody likes him, his performance in this movie is undoubtedly phenomenal. Oscar well-deserved in my eyes, even though I don't like Kevin Spacey, because who does like Kevin Spacey? In fact, all the performances in this movie are great. What am I talking? Everybody does a great job in this movie. But yeah, essentially you got your average Joe Schmo, and one day, I don't even remember what like sets him to. Oh my God! It's the girl. It's the high schooler. How ironic! And he starts living like nothing matters. So basically, Fight Club. He starts living life to the fullest. He doesn't care about anything. He just says whatever he wants, does whatever he wants, and it's honestly a blast. Now, some people definitely will not like this movie, and I can see why. There's questionable moments in it, but yes, I enjoyed my time with American Beauty. I thought it was phenomenal. I then watched There Will Be Blood. This is going to be a bit of a hot take. Look, guys, a 3.5 is not bad. I really enjoyed this movie. Thought it was really good for what it was, but the story itself didn't really connect or really interest me at all. Of course, Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Dano give excellent performances. Daniel Day-Lewis especially, obviously he won the Oscar. Well deserved. But man, the story, it's 2.5 hours, and I was kind of uninterested in kind of the middle half, or the middle half, and kind of the middle of this movie. I thought it was just kind of dragged on a bit for me. And I'm someone who doesn't really think movies go by slow, but this movie did drag for me. And again, that is probably because I just wasn't really interested in the story to begin with. The ending is bonkers and incredible. The ending is so good in this movie. And it was definitely worth the watch. If you haven't seen this movie, go watch it. Again, I'm not saying that this movie is bad. I think, the story isn't like, it's not bad. Like, it's an interesting story, but it doesn't pique my personal interest in watching this character. What's his name? Isn't his name Daniel? I really like his story in this movie. The character of Plainview is what carries this story, in my opinion. And without him and his arc in this movie, the movie would have flopped. Sure, the cinematography is great at times. I haven't seen any other PTA movies, so I can't really compare him to any of his other movies because I haven't seen him yet. Look, I just finished Kubrick. Give me some time. I'm doing Wes Anderson next, all right? Wes Anderson's going to be my next director ranked once I get around to watching all his movies. Then watched Slumdog Millionaire. Yeah, this movie was decent. It was fine. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. It was just there, kind of thrown in this month that I really didn't care about. I do like the story, if I'm being honest. The backstories and the flashbacks throughout this movie are just so long. Like, there's so many places where it, like I completely even forgot what this flashback is even trying to get the character to remember. Like, it's crazy how long some of these flashbacks are. And of course, they needed to be long or else there wouldn't be a movie, but good Lord. I enjoyed the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire bits. I thought the story of the guy was endearing and very tragic at times, but again, it's just, there's a lot of places in this movie where I was just like, okay, let's get back to the game. I want to see if he wins, because there are a lot of parts that are just filler in my eyes, and maybe I'm not a good person for saying this. I don't know. I didn't love the movie. I thought it was boring at parts. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I then watched Black Swan, which is basically Whiplash, but probably taken to the more extreme, but not as good. A lot of people know that this and Whiplash are very, very closely similar in a lot of people's eyes. It's just the story about obsessing over things that you really shouldn't obsess over, to the extreme that these characters are obsessing over. Natalie Portman, wow, what a performance. Sometimes, like, I couldn't even believe that she was acting, and it's wild to me. Man, Aronofsky, he doesn't know how to write a happy story. at all. Like, him trying to write a happy story is like me trying to grow to 6 foot. It's impossible. This movie had a lot of pretty disturbing moments too. I mean, I'm not really shocked. Again, it's an Aronofsky film, but this movie was disturbing at times and hard to watch and very sexual. This movie was very sexual, which, you know, I wasn't really expecting going in. I mean, I did know about one scene in particular, but there's a lot of other stuff that I was just like, okay. I watched this with my mom and sister. I did not need to see that with them. But yeah, this movie was great. It was awesome. Then watched Tar. This was another one that put me to sleep. I fell asleep for probably a good 15 minutes. Now look, again, this is a movie that has a lot to say about it, but I don't care. That's the problem. Cate Blanchett gives... If Cate Blanchett was worse or not in this movie, and if it was somebody else, I feel like this movie would have sucked. Which, I mean, I didn't love the movie. I know people love this movie, which I really don't see it at all. This movie was way too long. The pacing was so long. Essentially, it's just the argument of separate the art from the artist, which I saw one comment on Letterboxd that really made me giggle. Separate the tar from the tarist, which I really enjoyed. Then watched Paths of Glory. All right, I have a lot of Kubrick's in this month because I watched like over half of his movies in this month. So if you want to see pretty much full in-depth reviews of these movies, watch my Kubrick ranked video. It is probably my favorite video I've ever made. I love so much in it. And so Paths of Glory is, I don't know if I should spoil my ranking in case you haven't seen it, but I'm just going to say it's one of his best. And if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It is phenomenal in every aspect. Nothing wrong with this movie. It is amazing. It was free on YouTube. That's how I watched it, but I just checked before recording. It's not free on YouTube anymore, so that suck. And then watched Full Metal Jacket, another Kubrick. If you haven't seen my Kubrick ranked, go watch it. This movie is excellent, has some amazing characters, and the first 45 minutes is pretty much perfect. Next movie, I then rewatched RRR. This is a movie I actually can't skip over because I watched it for the first time last month. However, the footage that I used got copyrighted and made the video blocked in over like 75% of the world. So I had to cut out most of my RRR commentary, which I was very upset about. But I'm kind of glad I rewatched it because this has easily gotten in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. Yes, you heard that right. RRR is in my top 5 of all time and my favorite movie that I have watched in 2023. I don't have a single issue with this movie. Sure, some moments are cliche. It is corny as all holy heck. But good Lord, it's fun. And that's what I love about it. This isn't one of those movies that really connected with me on a personal level. I just loved it. It's so much fun. I don't look at this as a movie. I look at it as an experience. Wasn't that deep? The characters are so well fleshed out, so well written, so beautiful. The flashbacks are so good. Nacho Nacho is one of the best songs, original songs, maybe the best original song in any movie. And it is an absolute crime that this movie was nonetheless nominated for the Best Picture. Should have won. It was easily the best movie that came out in 2022. Like, I love Everything Everywhere All at Once, the second best movie of 2022, but RRR is, it's a lot better. Sure, the thing is 3 hours long, but the pacing is incredible. This movie feels like an hour and a half. My mother is a great example of this. She was very scared to watch this movie and really didn't want to, and she gave it a 5-star. And I don't have a lot else to say about it other than you guys need to go watch this one. This one I'm demanding that you watch because there's no flaws with it in my eyes. All right, cameo time. All right, the only movie that you've seen out of my monthly roundup here is RRR, which we're on. So talk to me about RRR.
Man, fancy dance scenes like this and boom, 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 and a lot of fake fighting, a lot of, I don't know, throwing motorcycles around, kind of crazy, but kind of action-packed and good.
So you enjoyed it?
I'd give it a thumbs up. Maybe 2 thumbs up, not a 10.
Oh, it's a 10.
Let's go 8.5.
8.5. I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Well, it's pretty good.
I know it is.
All right, RRR. Check it out.
And then watched the movie Pi. In celebration of Pi Day, I watched this movie. It was free on YouTube. Yeah, it was fine. This was Aronofsky's first film, and it shows. Requiem for a Dream was his second movie, and this one, it definitely shows that it was kind of the natural progression of starting at Pi and then going to Requiem. He uses a lot of the same shot techniques as he does in both of these movies. He uses both of the same shots. I just hate math, which this movie had a lot of, and I was uninterested a lot of the time. The ending is really good. The story itself is interesting. I just didn't like how they executed it. The main actor does a great job portraying this socially weird dude. I don't even remember if does he have an illness? And it's a weird movie. I wish it wasn't in black and white. I feel like the black and white actually took away from the movie in my eyes. I feel like it would have been a lot more engaging if it was in color. But I don't really have a lot to say about it because this movie was pretty below average in my eyes. I then watched Mean Girls. Fun fact, this was the 100th movie that I watched in 2023. Oh, I rewatched Mean Girls, not watched. I don't feel like redoing all that. I don't care. I like this movie. I actually upped my score since the first time I watched it. I think it's hilarious. The main character's arc, while cliche as holy heck, I like it. I like it a lot. Also, we're studying it alongside Julius Caesar in my class, which we rewatched it in class, which is why I watched it. This movie is hilarious. I then watched Barry Lyndon, and for a little bit of a reference, I have all Kubrick movies left except for 2. Now, again, I have a full video going into Kubrick movies, so I'm not going to go into full detail. But all in all, Barry Lyndon is incredible, and it was free on YouTube. I actually didn't check this one if it was, but go check if it is. If it isn't, then sucks for you because this movie's incredible. Then watched Grease. Man, this movie is so weird because on one hand, I didn't love it. And on the other hand, there's just this feeling of Grease that, like, it just makes me like it. It makes me feel good. It's just a fun movie with cliches. The ending is terrible in my opinion. And, Grease the song is easily the best part about it. I mean, that thing is a straight boner jam, if you ask me. I find myself listening to it all the time, if I'm being honest. John Travolta is awesome, and Olivia Newton-John, rest in peace. That is absolutely tragic to hear about her death last year, but she was also incredible in this movie. This movie was just a fun watch. It's not good, but it's fun. Then watched Fear and Desire. This is Kubrick's first movie, and it shows. This movie is not very good. Then watched Eyes Wide Shut. This is Kubrick's last movie, and is very good. Again, literally, just go watch my Kubrick video. I'm probably gonna say that like 2 or 3 more times, so you just get used to that. But yeah, this movie's incredible. Just go watch my ranking, see where it falls. I then watched Lolita. I actually do want to say a couple things about this one. This is another Kubrick. This movie, for being about a pedophile, is actually really good and is really entertaining and really funny, actually. The thing is, for some reason, 2.5 hours, but man, those 2.5 hours really go by fast, if I'm being honest. The pacing in this movie, I don't think I mentioned this in my Kubrick ranking, so I'm going to mention it here. I actually think the pacing in this movie is one of his best paced movies, probably alongside Barry Lyndon. I actually just really enjoyed this movie, so go watch it. I then watched Spartacus. This is Kubrick's worst movie. Moving on. I then watched Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. This is Kubrick's funniest movie, and it's also one of his best. Moving on. I then watched Killer's Kiss. This is his second movie, and kind of forgettable, but not that bad. It's decent. And to round out the Kubrick movies, I finished off with The Killing. This is basically Bottle Rocket, but set in the 50s, and probably not as good. This movie's fun. It's just a great time. Anybody can watch and enjoy this movie. It's paced pretty well. The characters work. It's just a really good movie. And finally, I finished the month with Hacksaw Ridge. Just another great Andrew Garfield movie. I mean, I need to watch Tick, Tick, Boom still, but I mean, this and The Social Network, Andrew Garfield gives phenomenal performances. This is just a great story about a great guy who saved a lot of people's lives, and it's just really, really good. This movie has a lot of highs and lows. I mean, pretty much the last 45 minutes are really, really good. And the middle chunk is basically just Full Metal Jacket, the first 45 minutes, but not as good. I do like Vince Vaughn's character though, even though he's just a rip-off R. Lee Ermey. It's just a good time. But there are moments that I don't really like in this movie, but I did enjoy it overall. I thought it was great. And that's March. Sorry this video took a little bit longer to get out. Just had to come back from the beach, which we came back on April 2nd, and I was not about to record another video at the beach. I think I had the exact same amount of movies in March as I did in February, which I think is kind of funny. And I'll just give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek for April. I already found or watched one of probably my favorite movie ever, Killer Bean Forever. So I'll see you guys in what I watched in April, or hopefully some other videos. All right. So, hope you guys enjoy this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or evening or night whenever you're watching this. Goodbye.